All right, everybody, welcome back to the Good Old Hockey Podcast. This is episode number 55, halfway to 100. Crazy time. 50 doesn't feel real.
I know, right?
It probably
It
feels
only
like
feels like I've hopped on 6.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be, but yeah, we had little Pupper join the intro with you. How's he doing? How's sleep going for you?
It's actually been pretty decent. He hasn't been too bad. He did just eat the cap to one of the doorstop things in my room.
Yeah.
So he's being a little bit of a menace. Tried to eat my staircase a couple times. But other than that, he's been great, dude. He's been awesome.
Good boy. He's a good boy. That's what we like to see. But yeah, we've had a crazy week. Boise State in the college football playoff. Feels surreal. Ashton Genty, Heisman finalist. Going nuts. I'm running on very low fumes and low sleep this weekend.
How was that game?
It was electric. It was on a Friday night, which I kind of wished it was Saturday, but got on the field, rushed the field after, felt like a sardine. There were so many people on the field. And then I had actually left before they took the field goal post down. So I didn't get to see all that. Kind of bummed about that, but I didn't think they were going to do it. I was like, there's not enough people helping with this field goal post. There was only like 20 people probably doing it at the time I was there. But they were working, and they got it down into the river. I saw Post Malone sign the post too. It's crazy.
Listen, it was 23 degrees outside. I highly doubt anybody who did that was sober or feeling the cold or feeling their own strength. So
that too.
That was pretty awesome. They threw it in the river and everything.
Yeah. No, it was a cool moment. Great historical time, Boise, all that stuff. But this isn't a college football podcast. This is a hockey podcast.
We got one
and of those. We do have one of those. That's this one that you guys are listening to. Hockey, what was last week? Last week was we had a win. No, we had a win in our men's league.
Yes, we did. That was a shootout. That was quite a game.
Someone was puking.
I had something was going on with my stomach. I ate a Maverick pizza, which for those of you who are not in the state of Idaho or unfamiliar with what Maverick is, that's a gas station. Yep. I had that probably 45 minutes before our game, and it just did not sit well. In between periods, and
actually ran out of you, I guess.
It was so bad. But we got the win, shootout, 4-3 win. Yeah. It was a good time.
I want to say that the timeout called in the third was just perfect for you because I knew we called that and you skated right over and just.
I called it.
You called it? Oh my God! I didn't know you called it.
I was like, "Hey, ref, I need a timeout for a second."
Yeah. Well, guess what? We still got the dub, and you got the chain. You got the chain.
I don't have it with me. I should have brought it up here.
Oh, you should have worn it on.
Yeah. Downstairs. Crap. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been funny. But yeah, you got player of the game. Allen played out outstanding, despite throwing up every intermission and every big stoppage we had. There was one we drew a penalty. Yeah, we drew a penalty and we were getting Allen to skate to the bench. I just felt so bad because the minute that he got to the bench, they touched the puck, whistle blown, and I was like, "Oh!" Just sprinted back for that. And now he can't even throw up because he's got to go back because we got a face off.
I did very quickly, but we're all good.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
It should be fine by tomorrow. I'm feeling a lot better. Stomach's feeling good.
Great.
So
that's awesome.
Hopefully we get another win. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. But we've got some pretty big news in terms of trades. What we're going to do is we're going to go over the two trades that happened. One happened today, actually, Monday. And then we're going to go over the Four Nations roster. They released, I want to say on Wednesday when we released last week. So a little bit of a week late to it, but NHL always screws us over and waits till like the day after to release any news for us. So fuck you.
Or the night we record.
One of the two. So I'm sure there'll be something else crazy that happened that we will miss. But we'll go over that.
He's traded to the Capitals tonight.
Waiting for that. Yeah, it's gonna happen. Couldn't imagine that. That'd be crazy.
I'm pretty sure the Penguins are on like a 4-game win streak too, or something like that. They've won a few in a row. I don't think he's getting traded.
Yeah, no, I don't think he is either. But someone did get traded. Jacob Trouba of the New York Rangers, the captain, gets traded to the Anaheim Ducks for, don't know how to say this guy's name, Urho Vakanainen. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone in the comments, and a 4th-round pick, the 2025 NHL draft. So the Rangers just traded their captain for a bag of marbles. But also at the same time, we're going to look at his stats here. He's got 6 assists, 0 goals, a -3, 46 shots on net in 24 games played. What were you saying earlier about his giveaways?
Let me pull it up here real quick. So we were looking at it before we hopped on here. I haven't watched a New York Rangers game this year except for the one that they played the Sharks, and I think they beat them 3-2 in overtime. Might have been a shootout. He hasn't done anything. It seems like he's kind of been floating. So he has 6 takeaways, right? Which is something you want out of a defenseman, right? Like you want your defenseman to be taking the puck away off of guys. Now, obviously, players typically have more giveaways than they do takeaways, but he's got 23 giveaways to 6 takeaways. He's currently almost at last season's giveaway number, which was 33. But he did that in 69 games played, whereas we're 24 games into the season. So he's given the puck away at least once a night, which he has never done before in his career. Pardon me, he's done one time before in his career. He's been brutal. At least from what I'm seeing. He's not blocking that many shots. He's not laying that many hits for a guy you think of as like a big, bruisey, physical defenseman. He's got 39 hits in 24 games played. Whereas last season he put up almost 269. It seems like he's just floating out there. People tend to think of him as some I know there's that the thing about him, he's a dirty player, right? People like to say he throws the elbow a lot. I don't really have an opinion. I think I've seen some questionable hits from him, but he is still seen as like a decent defensive player, but he's been awful this season, at least statistically. So I see why the trade happened. I'm surprised that the Rangers didn't have to give up some sort of prospect to get rid of him. I'm honestly surprised that they got a 4th-round pick and Urho Vakanainen, and I couldn't tell you anything about that guy, but I'm shocked they didn't have to give the Rangers didn't have to give somebody up to get him off their team with that contract, $8 million.
Yeah.
He's still getting paid for another season after this season. So the Ducks are committing to him for at least another year.
Which is crazy because it's like the Ducks aren't really in a situation where they're not, I don't really know what the Ducks are in right now. They're not really rebuilding, but I think they're developing, and maybe they see him as a good mentor figure. Which, he's won a ton of off-ice awards for various things. Like you said with the dirty player thing, hockey's always had quote unquote dirty players, and now those dirty players just get looked down upon. I know his elbow's pretty nasty and gnarly, but when you're his size and you're going up against a guy who's 5'8", 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot even, that elbow, I don't know. Sometimes I get frustrated when people just want to blame the elbow or whatnot when it's like, dude, the guy's how tall is Jacob Trouba? 6'4"?
He's 6'3", 212. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
I just find it interesting. It's like people like to say guys like that, guys like Radko Gudas or like another Duck. That's going to be an interesting D pairing. I believe they both play the right side, but I definitely think they should put them together at least for a shift just to see what happens. But people like to call these guys like extremely dirty players. I don't think I've seen a single Jacob Trouba hit where I'm like, there was that one in the playoffs where he charged and dove at a guy.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. That was against the Canes last season. I forget.
When he flipped over him?
It might have been Natchez. Yeah. I think it might have been on Natchez. But those were your average Scott Stevens hits in the 90s.
Yeah.
Which obviously the game of hockey is changing. It's faster. It's way more skilled than it was in 1998. But I just find it funny because that was just a standard hit.
Yeah.
Not even, just about 20 years ago. And now it's seen as you're one of the dirtiest players in the league now, which I find pretty interesting. But who knows? I think it might be a good move for the Ducks. The Rangers, it seemed like he was going to get scratched regardless, so at least they got something back for him. And at least they didn't have to give up like a prospect to get rid of his cap, because that cap hit is brutal.
No, it really is. So don't know like what the Ducks are going to use him for. I think Radko Gudas and him on a line together would be terrifying as a forward, or anyone on the ice.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, it would.
Watch out, goalies too.
Yeah, honestly, goalies too. Yep.
Remember that Radko Gudas Selly when I think it was the Panthers. Or not the Penguins. The Panthers beat the Leafs a couple years ago.
Yeah. In overtime, he just yells in his face. Yeah. So. Yeah, Ducks, don't know what you're doing there. But Rangers, I think if you're a Rangers fan, you're probably maybe you're not happy, but I feel like his contract was something else. Obviously, he's your captain, and I think he was pretty upset. There's a quote from him. He said, "Yesterday morning, it was accept this trade or we're scratching you." I said, "Okay." Then it was accept this trade or you're going on waivers. I said, "Okay." It's a rite of passage to get fired from Madison Square Garden. So I think the Rangers were just about done with him. They tried last summer. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I find it funny that they've traded their last three captains. They traded Brian McDonough. I believe Ryan Callahan was the captain before that, but they traded Brian Callahan away. They traded Brian McDonough away. And now Jacob Trouba. I wonder who's next for that team.
Yeah.
Like, I know we were talking a little bit about this yesterday. If you look at their, I can't think of a single player that I would really say, yeah, this guy's probably captaincy material. Like, I don't think Artemi Panarin's necessarily a big leader in the locker room.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. At the end of the day, I don't know these guys personally. I don't know what they're like behind closed doors, but maybe you give it to Igor Shesterkin. I mean, he just signed that huge contract. 11.5 mil for
Igor Shesterkin getting the captaincy.
Crazy. Hey, it's happened before. Roberto Luongo was a captain for a couple games.
True. Yeah.
I just don't see anybody else on that roster that I'm like, that makes sense.
I could see like Meek, just like pure look on the outside looking in, Zibanejad or even Kreider they want to get rid of, I want to say, or they were going to. Yeah. So they're probably going to run 3 assistants for a while until they figure it out.
I might be able to see like a Vinny Trocheck captaincy. That guy seems like a fucking blast to be around. He seems hilarious. Just all the clips I've seen of him making fun of other teams and stuff like that, like joking, having a good time playing hockey.
Yeah.
Maybe Andre Miller in a couple years or Adam Fox, but I just really don't see anybody who's like right now. I'm like, that could be the captain of an NHL team on that roster. It doesn't seem like they have many leaders, and I think their standings situation kind of shows that like that team should consistently be top of the league.
Yeah.
And they're nowhere near it right now.
Not. Nope. But we're going to move on to another trade, and it involves our favorite team, the Sharks. Mackenzie Blackwood today has been swapped for Alexander Georgiev with the Colorado Avalanche. So the Avalanche received Mackenzie Blackwood, Giovanni Smith, and a 2027 fifth-round pick. Sharks get back Alexander Georgiev, Nikolai Kovalenko, a 2026 second round, and a 2025 fifth-round pick. Alan, how are we feeling?
Upset. I mean, I'm sad. I think I've been saying for the last bit, I've been saying for a while now, Mackenzie Blackwood is great.
Yeah.
I've said it. I've thrown around the term. I don't know if I've done this on camera, but I've thrown around the term Mackenzie Blackwood is elite. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he's necessarily elite, but he's a great NHL goalie.
Yeah.
So I am sad to see him go. He's been playing fantastic this season. He's up there. I believe we saw he's 5th in league saves right now. He's got 583 saves, tied with Jordan Binnington for 4th. shots against. He's 5. Oh, I was way off on that. He's still 5th. Yeah, he's 5th in saves. Sorry, he's 4th in shots against. 911 save percentage, 3.0 goals against average. Like, he's been great. I can't complain. I mean, he's done exactly what the Sharks have needed him to. He's kept the Sharks in games where they didn't deserve to be in, which I think is only going to help progress the team and help them out in the long run. It's like when you have a young team and, you're getting blown out 8-1 every night, like it was last year, that's not helping anything. But when you have a young team, I mean, even if they're not in the game, but their goalie's keeping them in the game, that's at least a morale boost, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of saw that the other day. We put up 50 saves against the Panthers. The Sharks didn't deserve to be in that game, but they were in that game because of him. And so all in all, I'm sad to see him go. At the same time, I think the writing was kind of on the wall there. He's going to get traded at the deadline or in the offseason regardless. You have Yaroslav Askarov coming up, and he's one of, if not the best goalie prospects that's still outside the NHL. I would be willing to go on a limb and say he's the best goalie prospect outside the NHL. I think Dustin Wolf is very much comparable, but he is now an NHL goalie. So it's like you got to make room for that guy at some point. I don't see why they brought a goalie back.
That was weird to me.
I could see them not wanting to run Askarov and Vanacek as a tandem right now.
I feel like Georgiev might be a good. Yeah, Georgiev might be a good like mentor figure. He's got, not that Vanacek is. No, Vanacek is not a good mentor for this kid.
No.
Georgiev
he's also still young.
Yeah,
Vanacek's like 27.
Yeah, Georgiev is an NHL veteran at this point, I'd say. Especially with the team he's been on with the Avalanche. So he knows what he's doing, and I think, like you said, it would have been awesome to be able to keep Blackwood and Askarov together, but I think I just don't think that would have panned out. And like you were saying earlier, his value right now is red hot with the way he's been playing, especially. And on the flip side, as Sharks fans, we feel how we feel. But I think if you are, God, my beanie's all weird. Hold on. If you are a Colorado Avalanche fan right now, you're probably pretty pumped because that's kind of something that they've always been not missing, but definitely lacking is goaltending. And I think that Georgiev just wasn't enough for them. Yeah. And Blackwood's still young too, so he's got some time to develop. And it's not like Cale Makar or Nathan McKinnon are old by any means. So it's not. I think this is a great trade on both ends, which I think I always like to see in the NHL. Sometimes there's fleece jobs where you're, like this Trouba trade. You're just like, what are you thinking? But this one was like a very beneficial to both teams.
No, for
obviously
sure.
Both Western Conference teams, but I don't think it's going to get in our way as a Sharks, just because we have a lot of time left till we're competitive. But also snagging a second round pick out of that. GM Mike Greer, baby.
Before we get off the Avalanche's point of view, so since they had Patrick Waugh, and I believe he retired in 2004.
Yeah.
Might have been a little bit after that. But since they've had Patrick Waugh, their franchise best goalie is, to my knowledge, one of two guys. That is Craig Anderson and Semyon Varlamov. Those are the two guys that I can think of. They've had Darcy Kemper. They've had Georgiev, obviously, for a while now. I think Blackwood. Hang on, my dog is eating my chair. Can you stop? Can you not eat my chair? Thank you, buddy. I think Blackwood, if he remains at this level, and I'm a huge Craig Anderson fan. I loved that guy when he was playing. I remember the Sharks played a playoff series against him. This must have been 2010 when I was first really, really diving into hockey. I started playing goalie around that time, and I love that guy. He was great then. I'm a big fan of him. He had one of the best seasons in NHL history as a goalie, and nobody seems to pay attention. He put up like a 941 save percentage over like 50-something games. Nobody pays attention to that. At the same time, him being your franchise best goalie in the last, 20-something years, that's not a good thing. Yeah. Either that or Semyon Varlamov, who he's a great backup now for the Islanders, and he has been for a few years. But, that's not a starting goalie in the NHL. Yeah. He was for a brief period of time, but he wasn't a great one. I think it's going to work out well for them. They now have a legitimate goalie, and he's young. He has time to grow. They have a good defensive roster in front of them, or at least they're potentially good. They have all the opportunity in the world. Their biggest issue this year has been goaltending. They haven't been able to buy a save off Georgiev. Yeah. And then their backup, I forget his name, Anunin. He's not been good either.
Yeah. So I think for the Sharks too, I think it's kind of helping our tank situation. And also I think for Blackwood and where he's at in his career, I want to say he's like 25, 26, maybe 27, but yeah. Where he's at in his career, he does not need to be on a rebuilding team.
No.
And he's a fantastic goalie, and maybe his numbers they look great on paper to me, knowing the situation, but if you were on the outside looking at his numbers with the defense that's in front of him, he's playing fantastic. So I'm excited to see how he does with the Avalanche, who I think has a pretty solid defensive core. So I think, honestly, Avalanche are kind of sneaky. I think that they just bolstered themselves immensely to be talked about in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Obviously, we'll see how it shakes out, but I'm happy for both of them. Do you have anything else you could think of before we move on?
Joe Sakic did his job. He got them a goalie. That's been – I've been looking at, the Avalanche, they're a great team. I don't think anybody is going to look at their roster and go, that team sucks, right?
Yeah.
They've been middling this year, and it's because they have not been able to buy a save. When you're consistently out shooting teams and getting beat by multiple goals, that's a problem. And it's not because you don't have guys on the roster that – elsewhere on the roster that aren't succeeding. You have Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and they're both having good seasons. He addressed their biggest issue. I think they're going to get back comfortably into the playoff picture.
Yeah.
And very quickly. And I think that they're going to be a contender. I know that might be a little bit of a ridiculous statement because they're currently they're in the second wild card spot in the West. But
no, a goalie could turn their season around.
Absolutely, especially somebody who's been playing. I know a lot of people. I bet you a lot of the guys who watch our podcast, guys and girls, who watch our podcast,
girls watching
that's a strong assumption. A lot of the.
Hey, if you are, appreciate you. If you are a girl that appreciate you immensely, but we know our crowd.
I'm a big PWHL fan, ladies.
Yeah.
No, but it's just they shouldn't be a team that's sitting in the second wild card spot. I don't think anybody who watches our podcast is expecting them to be there. But they have over 100 goals allowed this season. They only have 5 less goals allowed than the San Jose Sharks, and they just got a legitimate goalie. What I was saying before I lost my train of thought, most people probably are not watching San Jose Sharks games unless they are San Jose Sharks fans, but Blackwood has been he's been unbelievable for us. And I think he's going to make a big impact on that organization in immediately. I think they're going to turn it around. They're going to be contenders for, we're early enough in the season. They're not that far behind the Wild for the best team in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
Best team in the league. Buddy, you got to quit it. Give me 1 second. Let me go get him his toy.
Yeah. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Alan he was biting the chair.
I had to bite my dog back.
Yeah, he did have to bite him. Okay, it happens. But where was it going? Oh, yes. Honestly, if I had to give both these teams a grade, I'd give them both an A, flat A.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more for the Avalanche can benefit a little bit more, like right off the bat. The Sharks is more not of a risk, but there's a little risk involved in it. So that's why Avalanche just get a slight advantage, but not by much. But we're going to break down this Four Nations roster. Maybe the reason you clicked on this video, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to pull up my screen here. We're going to show you guys. We're going to go through each team, kind of read it off for those of you listening and not watching. On Team Canada in forward, we've got Sam Bennett, Seth Jarvis, Connor McDavid, Anthony Cirelli, Travis Konechny, Braden Point, Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, Sam Reinhart, Brandon Hagel, Brad Marchand, Mark Stone, and Mitch Marner. On defense, we've got Cale Makar, Colton Papiaco. How do you say that?
Parayko.
Sorry, I thought that was with a P. Parayko. Shea Theodore, Josh Morrissey, Alex Pietrangelo, Devon Taves, and Travis Sanheim. In net, this is where I think they are going to struggle. Jordan Binnington, Aiden Hill, and Sam Montembeault. Sam Montembeault is an interesting pick here. We'll kind of go through these teams, and I don't know if you want to pick out anyone that kind of stands out to you. But like I said, right off the bat, Sam Montembeault being your third goalie. And even just like, I mean, Canadian goalies just have not been the best in the last couple of years. No knock on Aiden Hill, but I just don't think that he is who you want to be representing your country as a goaltender. It's who you got. And Jordan Binnington has not been good since 2019, personal opinion. But what do you think about this roster?
So the first thing I noticed when I look at this roster, and this is kind of a blind reaction for me. I've looked at the US's roster and I looked a little bit at Canada's roster. Canada seems to be going with a little bit. I feel like in past seasons, or in past times we've had international play with NHL players, mostly going.
Yeah.
We've seen Canada be, this extremely talented, deep team where every superstar in the league is Canadian.
Yeah.
You look back at the 2014 Team Canada roster that won U.S. Olympic gold. And frankly, it's a ridiculous roster. It's like every single player on that team was the best player on the team.
Yeah.
You look at this roster and it's a little bit less like that. Obviously, every single player who got picked for this tournament is one of the best hockey players in the world, right? But you look at guys, Sam Bennett, Travis Konechny, Brandon Hagel. Like, you look at these guys, they're all having fantastic seasons. Brad Marchand, they're looking like a little bit more of a rough and tumble team, which, the last few international tournaments where NHL players have been going, they're all skill. And it's worked out for Team Canada. They pick the best players, right?
Yep.
And they typically win gold or place very highly. But they're kind of pulling the U.S. route from, the last couple international tournaments where you've had NHL players where they have some guys. I remember Justin Abdelkader was on the U.S. team in, I believe, 2010 and 2014.
Yeah.
And that was like there are a bit like more talented American NHL players out there. But they picked him because of the grit.
Yeah.
So you have guys on this roster that are like, they're willing to mix it up a little bit. Obviously, Brad Marchand has been on Team Canada's roster.
Yeah.
There was no question that he was going to be going to this. And he's the guy who's always going to get in the mix of things and piss people off.
I mean, look at the Panthers. I mean, they won playing that exact brand of hockey, and you've got two of them right there. Especially Sam Bennett was a leading charge in that, and you've got Brad Marchand, who would fit really well with the Panthers. So I think that this team, him on the Panthers would be wild.
Imagine him on the line with Matthew Tkachuk. That'd be a shit show for everybody else on the ice that is not in the Panthers jersey. That'd be awesome.
I don't even know if they'd get along as teammates, but
who knows?
I think this team is not. They're very, like you said, very top heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I think their depth is a little lacking, but like you said, the rough and tough players, maybe that'll work out for them. But
Yeah,
we'll move on. We'll come back to them and kind of compare with some of the other teams. But up next, gonna switch it. We got Sweden. Let me zoom in really quick.
So I've not seen this roster.
Okay, Sweden forwards, for those of you listening: Victor Arvidsson, Philip Forsberg, Gustav Nyquist, Jesper Bratt, William Karlsson, Elias Peterson, Leo Carlson, Adrian Kempe, Lucas Raymond, Joel Eriksson Ek, Elias Lindholm, Mika Zibanejad, and William Nylander. Mm-hmm. On defense, we got Rasmus Andersson, Rasmus Dahlin, Victor Hedman, Jonas Brodin, Matthias Ekholm, Erik Karlsson, and Gustav Forsling. In net, we got Philip Gustafsson, Jacob Markstrom, and Linus Ullmark. Off the bat, those goalies are solid.
Yeah.
I like that. Forwards. I mean, Team Canada is Team Canada. They're always going to have the superstar. But honestly, like the first name that really sticks out to me, maybe William Nylander. And Rasmus Dahlin is always a solid player. But outside of that, this also isn't. I mean, Leo Carlsson being second year, and Bedard also, we forgot to mention that Bedard not making Canada, which we can kind of go back to. But
yeah,
he had said, like, you sleep in the bed you make. He's not having a great season, so you kind of, you get what you get. But
yep.
Leo Carlsson's having a pretty good season, so he made it. Also, Canada's really competitive for who's going to make that team.
Yeah.
But overall, I don't know. I want to keep looking at the other ones first before I really give anything.
I have a little bit of a take. Okay. I have a little bit of a take. So with Team Canada, obviously you have Connor McDavid, right? And he really is an X factor. If he has himself a night, Team Canada is going to beat any team in the tournament. That's just how it is, right? Yeah. If he puts up 4 or 5 points in a single game. Yes, Canada's goalies are not fantastic. You have Aiden Hill, but like goaltending, if you get a hot Aiden Hill, he's going to be just as good as, your best Philip Gustafsson, right? He's not going to be just as good as your best Connor Hellebuck, but if you have a hot goalie, he's going to do damage.
Yeah.
At the same time, is a guy like William Nylander really miles behind in talent than Connor McDavid? No. These guys, the skill difference between them, like you look at in youth hockey, the skill difference between your average AAA player, your average AA player is pretty big, right?
Yeah.
In the NHL, you're talking about this much difference of players. They're all the best players in the world.
Yeah.
William Nylander is one of the premier players in the NHL and in the world.
Yeah.
Is he that much worse than Connor McDavid? No. Looking at the rest of their lineup, I'd be willing to say that they have a better lineup than Canada.
Really?
Which might be a hot take. They have better goalies for sure.
Yep.
Defense,
I like that defense. That blue line looks pretty solid.
It's on par at minimum.
Yeah.
And then forwards, like they have a way deeper squad.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him like, there's the X factor of McDavid. There's the X factor. Sidney Crosby could go off and have himself a game, right?
Yeah. Nathan McKinnon.
But Nathan McKinnon, he could have himself a game. But at the same time, like, none of these guys are that much worse than them, but the rest of their team is so much deeper.
Yeah.
You have, looking at it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys who are a first liner in their forwards.
Yeah.
And you can say the same thing about Canada besides maybe Anthony Chiarelli, right?
Yeah.
I think he plays on their second line. But like, I don't know. I'm taking their forward group over Canada. Anyways, let's move on.
Yeah. No.
Before you pick me apart, too bad.
No. Honestly, I want to look at all these before making any claim on who I think is the best. I will admit I'm biased here because I think this is the best team, and that's maybe because I'm American. But Team USA, we got forwards. We got Matt Boldy, Jack Hughes, Brock Nelson, Kyle Connor, Chris Kreider, Brady Tkachuk, Jack Eichel, Dylan Larkin, Matthew Tkachuk, Jake Gensel, Austin Matthews, Vinny Trocheck, JT Miller. On D, we got Brock Faber, Noah Hannafin, Jacob Slavin, Adam Fox, Quinn Hughes, Zach Werenski, Charlie McAvoy. In net, and this is crazy, Connor Hellebuyck, Jake Ottinger, and Jeremy Swayman. Again, off the bat, going down and up. Goalies, I think this is the best net that you're going to have in this tournament, and it's not close at all. You got 2 Vezina finalists, Vezina winner, a Vezina finalist. I don't even know. Has Jake ever been a Vezina finalist?
I feel like Jake Swayman was last season.
All 3 Vezina finalists, one winner.
I'm pretty sure they all 3 were last season.
Yeah.
Or no, Bobrovsky was. Bobrovsky over Swayman. But Jake and Connor and Swayman, what he did in the playoffs was wild.
Yeah. And like Swayman's, great goalie. So solid there. Quinn Hughes, you got Quinn Hughes, I think, stands out. Charlie McAvoy is solid too. Adam Fox, Brock Faber. Those top 4 right there, assuming that's the top 4, is a pretty solid, top 3, very solid top 3 defenders. No shade to Brock. I just wrapped him in there, and he's, up front, though, this is where I think we kind of have an edge on Canada, is our superstar count. You count, I'm going to count Austin Matthews. I'm going to count Jack Eichel. I'm going to count Jack. Wait, did I say that? Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel, Jack Hughes. And then I'll put Matthew Tkachuk in there at superstar top. He was almost, that's 4 right there. I think Austin's clearly number 1. Tkachuk's up there too, but and even his brother Brady, like, he's a great player. I don't think he's been able to shine on the Senators, to be honest, but everyone else around. Jake Gensel is also a superstar, rock star, maybe not a superstar. Kyle Connor. Yeah.
I think he might be superstar level.
Yeah.
I genuinely do.
Yeah.
Matt Boldy is going to be. This team is gross.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we're being we get delusional about the Sharks a lot, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you're delusional in saying that this team is nasty and this team is probably the best team in the tournament. Like, it's the same thing as Sweden. Like, there is not a single player on this team besides maybe Chris Kreider and Vinny Trocheck that aren't first liners on their team, that aren't one of, if not the best players on their team. You look at the defensemen, you have 2 Norris winners. You have one guy, Jacob Slavin, who, if the Norris were awarded correctly the best defensive player in the league, he would win it every year. You have Brock Faber, who is going to be a perennial Norris finalist. Charlie McAvoy is up there as well. I'm pretty sure he's been nominated for it.
Yeah.
Noah Hannafin is probably the worst guy of that group, and he's sick.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Maybe Zach Werenski. He hasn't been good the last few years, or not like seen as good, but it's because he's been injured.
Yeah.
Like, there's no real weak spot on this team. I don't know who's going to get, because you got to scratch one forward, you got to scratch one defenseman, right?
Yeah.
And one goalie. Who the hell are they going to scratch?
Yeah. Honestly, because they're going to play, I probably should have looked into this, but we can talk about it when it gets closer to the Four Nations tournament. We'll definitely do some more breakdown of this. This is kind of just reactionary, but assuming how they're going to do this, it's a tournament style. So you're going to have players cycling in and out. It's in place of the All-Star game. So there's no All-Star game this year. It's just this, which I'm kind of upset about, but that could be a discussion for another episode. Because it leaves off, I just feel like it leaves off some players if your nation isn't a part of this. That's why. But I think you're going to see some cycles in and out. And I don't know the stretch of how many games they're going to be playing in this tournament. If it's going to be like the All-Star games, like back to back to back. I don't think it's going to be like that.
I'd assume it's like a round robin where they all play each other. Every team plays each other. And then best 2 teams play for the championship. I don't know, though.
Yeah, we'll have to look into it. But
I just think it's crazy that the U.S. is, because a delusional American in 2014 would have said, yes, the U.S. is comparable with Team Canada. You look back on those rosters, they're not. I love Joe Pavelski, but he's no Sid, right?
yeah, no.
You're not delusional if you say this roster is better than Team Canada. And I think that's been a big worry for Canadians. Over the last few months when this was released, I remember seeing a bunch of videos and comments and posts about how Team USA might actually be better than Team Canada. And I think we're finally seeing it coming true.
Yeah.
Which, as an American, I love it.
Yeah. And I think that this is a product of America having all these teams and these kids watching, hockey growing up. We've got NCAA has been evolving and will continue to evolve in the future. But USA Hockey has done a great job in. Wait a minute. Where the hell is Cole Caulfield?
He got left off. The biggest ones were him and Tage Thompson.
Yeah, Cole Caulfield's surprising. There must be something behind that, because I would take Cole Caulfield over
Chris Kreider,
JT Miller, Brock Nelson. Like,
I don't know about guys on there, dude. I think here's a take. JT Miller is probably the most underrated player in the NHL. I know he's got his off ice issues where people say he's an asshole, right? But most of that seems to come from fanfare and not actually from players.
Yeah.
I think that guy is gross at hockey. I think he gets overlooked as a superstar in this league. Yeah. He is, frankly, he's better than Elias Pettersson, right? Or at least he has been this year. He was last year.
Yeah, he was last year.
And Pettersson seems one of the premier players in the NHL. He's nasty. Yeah. I don't care about his off-ice antics or if he's got, character problems. I don't really care. I'm here to watch hockey, right?
Yeah.
I'm not one of those old heads who's like, oh, they got to be good people too. No, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, on your point that this is due to like all these NHL teams being in the States and a bunch of kids actually growing up and watching hockey in the States, I find it crazy because, as you know, most of the viewers probably don't know, I coach a team and we live in, Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
There's no NHL team around here, but we have a program that's based out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho that is sending players to the WHL now to go play junior hockey at the premier level in Canada. And I think it's kind of crazy that these kids are coming out of nowhere in the U.S. now. And you're going to keep seeing it over the years. This is just something that was bound to happen with there being so many people in the United States.
Yeah.
Eventually it was going to catch fire. And you're
and the sport, the sport's
players.
Been growing. If you look back on let's say the 2010 Team USA roster, any kid that the youngest player that would be playing in that tournament would be 20 years old. 2010 was born in 1990. Hockey, Gretzky, you could count Gretzky for that. Gretzky was around that time. So then those kids being born after Gretzky are now all here right in front of our faces. And just the sport growing, and it's going to continue to grow. It's still growing. And I think that we're going to see, just with the amount of people that are in the U.S., outnumber Canada. I know hockey is Canada's bread and butter.
Well, it's tenfold.
But yeah, it's bound to happen.
Mathematically, it doesn't make any sense that at some point the U.S. wasn't going to take over. Yeah. I'm sure we'll still keep seeing, because it's kind of been this way where there's been a massive rise in American hockey players, but you're still going to see the Canadian superstars that they live, breathe. Everything is hockey. Where even you look at a guy like Austin Matthews, I'm pretty sure he also grew up playing baseball. Yeah. And he's one of the premier players in the NHL, but I think you'll still see the Canadian superstars, but I think you're going to see a change in just the amount of premier NHLers from the United States.
Yeah. I think one last thing too.
Yeah. We got to wrap it up.
America.
US for 10 minutes.
But honestly, I think most of the people watching are probably from the States, so I'm assuming you guys care about this. But
they're probably
the
Sharks fans.
thing,
No Sharks on the roster. Boo.
yeah, I know.
Will
Not for Team
Smith didn't
USA.
make it.
Yeah.
They fucked up.
Oh, that's what it was. The last 2 first overall picks, Bedard and Celebrini, are both Canadian. So it's like,
yeah,
you're gonna have these superstars that come out. What?
Celebrini played most of his youth hockey in the U.S.
Yeah, but he still played World Juniors in Canada.
Yeah, but still, you think about it, right? Yeah, you have these Canadian superstars, but even Celebrini played college hockey. He played minor hockey.
That is true.
He played for the Junior Sharks, same organization that both me and Sean played for.
True.
He played in the USHL. He played at BU. Like it's a movement towards American.
Yeah.
Oh, puppy's saying hello.
Oh, he's saying
he wants to chime in.
That ruffling.
USA.
So yeah, I think Bedard's a good, or not Bedard. Celebrini's a good point. Yes, he's Canadian, but he did come up in the American hockey system.
Yeah.
And Bedard still, and we'll see who wins next year, or who gets first overall next year. But if it's James Higgins or whatever his name is, guess where he's playing? Yeah. Boston College. He's playing NCAA. So
you see guys like this in the future. It's like, I think we are going to see kind of a rise in just the superstar players that are coming out of the U.S., which is awesome. I think it's good for the sport, just overall growth. I want to see more Russians. I want to see more Finns, Sweden, Slovaks, Czechs, all of them. Give me all the elite NHL players. I want to see everybody.
Yeah.
International hockey is better when it's not just Canada winning.
That is true. That's a good point.
So it's cool to see all these competitive teams.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to Finland, the last team of this 4-nation face-off. Oh, God. If I mess up any of these names, I apologize. But here we go. Forwards: Sebastian Aho, Erik Haula, Anton Lundell, Joel Armia, Rope Hintz, Eetu Luosterainen, Alexander Barkov, Capo Kakko, Mikko Rantanen, Mikael Granlund, let's go, Patrick Laine, Teuvo Teravainen, Arturi Lehkonen. On defense, we got your Hakanpää.
I only know that because I've heard it said.
Okay. Rasmus Ristolainen, Miro Heiskanen, Dilly Mata, Oli, oh my God, I can't read. Okay, you read the rest.
Juuso Välimäki, Nico Mikkola. You got Kevin Lankinen, which, side note, I think Kevin is a great name for a Finnish guy. You see all these names: Rupe, Capo.
I mean,
Esta,
even like
Oli.
Sebastian is still.
Sebastian.
It's not like Eric spelled with a K. All this stuff, and then you got Kevin.
Kevin Lankinen. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, and then Jussi Saros. I'm looking at this. This is the first time I've actually seen Finland's roster.
Yeah.
They're a 1-line, 2-line team.
Yeah.
Their defensive core, Miro Heiskanen is one of the premier defensemen in the NHL. Yep. Jani Hakanpää is not. Yeah. Jussi Saros is one of the premier goalies in the NHL. Kevin Lankinen is not. Hey,
even Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I would not consider an elite goaltender. I think Jussi Saros is going to carry this team.
Yeah.
Goalie wise, and just even defensively. I mean, this is not the deepest of teams defensively. Their forwards are all like, I think Patrick Laine, Rope Hintz, Aho, that's line 1. Maybe not. Those are your top 3, I'd say. Maybe Mikael Granlund. Biased pick, but Mikael Granlund top 4. No, I forgot. Wait, Barkov, center number 1.
Yeah.
Barkov's your greatest player.
Offensively, they have a good defensive team. I think defensively, they're a little bit lackluster, but you said it best. This team is going to live and die by Jussi Saros. Yeah. If he has a good tournament, I could see this team winning.
Yeah.
If he has a bad tournament, I could see this team being the worst team in the tournament.
Yeah.
It really just depends on how he plays and what ends up happening there. If they can get the goal support to really make him successful. Because he is, regardless of the season that Nashville and him are having right now, he's still a premier NHL goalie. He is gross.
And if you put well, I think it would be
just the rest of the teams.
It's like I don't know. But if you had to rank all 4 of these teams, who would you go with? 1, 2, and 3, and 4. We'll say there's 4. I think we both can agree on that.
You're gonna want to clip this. I'll start at the bottom. Finland, number 4. I think they'll be competitive. I don't think it's going to be like them getting blown out like when you see Germany play an international play, right? Where they're getting beat every game 10 to 1. Mm-hmm. But I think they'll be a competitive 4. I'm going to say Canada at 3.
I knew it. Yeah.
Finland or Sweden 2, USA 1.
Sweden 2, USA 1.
I really think, looking at their defensive core, they have a lot of good offensive defensemen, right? Mm-hmm. Then they have some really questionable guys. Colton Parayko, I do not think is one of the premier NHL defensemen. I know he's, I think, the Blues' longest serving defenseman, but I don't think he's a premier defenseman in the NHL. Alex Pietrangelo, if this were 5 years ago, now I don't think so. Travis Sanheim, meh.
Yeah.
Shea Theodore, I don't think he's been great this season. I haven't watched a whole lot of Vegas games, so I don't really know. But from what I've seen, I haven't heard anything about him. I guess that kind of tends to be that way. But he's a good player. But like Devon Taves, Cale Makar, defensively they're going to carry this team. I guarantee they'll be on the line. And then Josh Morrissey is a great offensive defenseman, but he's not going to keep the puck out of the net.
Yeah.
It
Trendo's,
depends on.
I'd say solid.
He's solid, but he's not like Alex Pietrangelo. When they won gold in 2014, I believe he was on that team, and he was one of the best defensemen on that team. He's not that same Alex Pietrangelo. Cale Makar, it's just really a top-heavy team.
Yeah.
And I think Sweden's better than them. On paper, I mean, you look at Rasmus Andersson the last few seasons has been one of the best defensemen in the NHL. He hasn't gotten any love because he's on Calgary, and Calgary is frankly ass. They've been okay this season. Dustin Wolf, you've been awesome. I'm sorry if you're listening to this podcast, but Gustav Forsling is probably the best defensive defenseman in the NHL, as we've discussed and sent each other highlight reels of him picking the puck off of people and hitting them. Matthias Ekholm is great. Rasmus Dahlin is one of the most satisfying players to watch in the NHL. I don't know if you've ever seen, there's this one guy, I forget what his Instagram handle is. I'll have to find it, and you'll have to edit it. And I believe it's not, no. I forget what it is. I follow him on Instagram, but he does the RAS cam where it's one of those like it centers in on their head.
Yeah.
And I've probably sent you a couple of them. I'm holding
I know what you're talking about.
It's so satisfying to watch, dude. He's so smooth. He's so gross. Victor Hedman. It's kind of hard to compete with the guy who's that big and that talented. Erik Karlsson's dropped off a bit, but if he has a good tournament, I mean, you never know what could happen.
Yeah.
Then you go.
And he's around he's like Erik Karlsson's got a good supporting cast around him. Not that the Penguins are, he's always got Sidney Crosby, but he's going to be playing in an elite tournament with elite players on and I think he can have a great tournament. He's still Erik Karlsson. But I mean, I don't disagree that Sweden is honestly a good pick at 2 over Canada.
I think they're better. Honestly, yes, I know that Canada has Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid. I don't really care because everything else I think is lackluster, which is crazy. I would have never guessed that, 4 years ago. Yeah. But I genuinely think everything else is lackluster. If Aiden Hill or Jordan Binnington or Sam Montembeault, for whatever reason, they just get hot at the right time, I think that team will probably beat anything. But it's kind of that way with every single team. Like when Linus Ullmark or Philip Gustafson's been outstanding this year, nobody's beating them.
Jacob Markstrom played great last year. Well, not great. He was on Calgary, but for being in Calgary, like he didn't do bad. And even with the Devils now, like he's playing pretty great. So I'm not going to discredit that. I think you could make an argument for Canada being 2.
Yeah.
But I think USA being 1 is hands down pretty obvious. And if any Canadians disagree, you're coping hard.
So we're having the settle down awards here in a few days.
Oh
right?
yes, I forgot to mention that.
And I don't think I was in the voting this year. I'm still a little bit too new, too fresh. But
yeah,
I'm gunning for that worst take spot next season. Okay.
Yes.
So this might be an awful take, right? In fact, this is probably going to be an awful take. I don't really care. I don't think Connor McDavid is going to be that much of a factor in this tournament. And I think Canada is going to be, I think they're going to be a competitive last place with Finland.
Wow.
I think Sweden and the U.S. Connor McDavid has not been phenomenal so far this season.
Yeah.
He's Connor McDavid. He's been good, right? Obviously, who's injured for a little bit too, so doesn't help him. That's the only thing they got. They got Nathan McKinnon too. Sidney Crosby is definitely slowing down. He's not Sidney Crosby of 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I think they're going to be competitive last place.
Yeah.
Or they're going to be competing for last place. I don't think it's close. I think Sweden and the U.S. are going to have a great matchup in the finals.
Yeah, I agree.
That is my hot take of the century. Yeah. I'm sure Canada is going to go on to win this tournament now. I just jinxed everything. I ruined it for the U.S. Hey, I'm so sorry.
Don't matter. You know what? Honestly, I'm excited for this. We'll be doing more stuff when it gets a little closer. I want to say it's in February. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we just wanted to do some little breakdown, just analysis right off the bat since it just dropped. But like Alan said, I forgot to mention this in the beginning. If you're watching this point, thank you. But this Thursday on the Settle Down Media YouTube channel, you can go in our bio. If you're new to the Good Old Hockey Podcast, we are a network of podcasts, sports podcasts. We're all friends. So go check it out. It's in the link. Go to that YouTube channel, follow it on Thursday. So tomorrow, when you're watching this, Thursday night, December 12th at 8 p.m. Mountain Time, Settle Down Award Show. You're not going to miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of degeneracy and craziness. It's going to be fun. We did it last year, and it was a good time. And we've got more faces this time, so it's going to be a wild time. So be sure to check that out. But if you watched to this point, and you caught us last episode, did pretty well on YouTube. We got some new subscribers, so welcome. You can listen to us on Spotify too if you don't want to be watching the videos. Again,
I understand if you don't want to see my face, but hear my voice. I'm sure you'll love that.
He's got a voice of gold and a face meant for radio.
I was going to say face for the radio, baby.
No, I'm kidding. No, it was a prank. But seriously, thank you, everyone listening.
That's a doom right there.
Yeah, that was a doom. But we'll see you guys next week. Alan and I have a game tomorrow on Tuesday, so we'll break that down for you as well. And then
point night,
we'll have
baby.
Point night. We got I'm not going to mention the team name, but
I forget what they're called, but they're awful. Whoever we're playing, they're awful. I'm sure they're going to beat us now, but if I get an opportunity, I'm shooting the puck on net from goal.
Yeah, I'll help you.
Hopefully, I'll try and get Scott out to this game, have him film it. We can clip it on the channel.
Yeah, it'd be funny. All right, guys. Seriously, thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you aren't subscribed and you're new. And see us on that Settle Down Award Show tomorrow, Thursday, December 12th. If it's past that, go back and watch it. You can rewatch it. It's on Settle Down YouTube. Click the link in the bio, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.